probably need to end this tonight.
Okay.
The question is maybe when we could...
Sorry, Thor. Okay, well, that's good. And thanks again so much for having us in your meeting for Jack and myself here. And I enjoyed this again. Yeah. Encourage everybody to join the Facebook group on Mathematically Perfected Economy. And that'll keep us in touch. Anyone can post to it. There's an email address that you can mail the entire group, and hopefully that will grow so that we can act to proliferate this.
Okay.
And Thor, if you want to talk to me, one day instead of listening, you can always pick up the phone. Yeah?
Yes. I might do that. I don't do much Skyping, and but I should.
No, just so you know.
Well, this is true for the other members of your group as well. Make sure that everybody can contact, both Jack and myself, and of course there's other people who would be very interested. In fact, another guy to talk to would be Max Egan in Australia, and another person yet would be Vincent Bourne in Ireland. Another person yet would be Patty Walking Turtle here in the United States. They would be very, very gratified to interview you for whatever, an hour, and help promote this. These stations, these internet radio stations are growing very rapidly. So each of them, because of the importance of the material. So you could thrust yourself right into the middle of that. And if you can get in touch with me on Skype, any of you, and you're welcome to. I can provide the contact information for these.
Well, listen, Thor. If you have questions, because I had all these stupid questions in the last 12 months, and Mike answered them. But maybe sometimes people feel too embarrassed to ask what they think are silly questions. You can always call me, whether it's with your family in the background or not, because I have my family here as well. And I was, a couple of hours ago, my wife was screaming to come for dinner while I was on the phone with Mike.
Okay.
So,
Not just once either.
No.
Yeah, I think we should contact soon, and probably I'll go on hours or something.
All right. Okay.
You're always there, right?
I'm basically always here.
Yeah, and Jack's fathoming of this is like helpful to because I've been doing it for a long time, and Jack is a fresh face to it, so he's he sees it more from the initial standpoint, which can help you out too. So anyway, that's great, and I'll let you go then. I'll try and contact these other people. Confirm it with them that they'd be interested in doing this, which is just a formality, and get Max, Max's and Patty Walking Turtles and Vincent's contact information to you, so I can put you together. Okay?
Yes, excellent.
Awesome.
Yeah, we should talk soon. Again.
Okay, great. Thor, anytime.
Yeah.
Okay, guys.
Yeah. Good night for now, guys.
You two have a good evening. Happy New Year. We'll make it a good one.
Good night.
Good night. Thanks.
Good night. Happy New Year.
Good night and Happy New Year.
So, of course, this casual support of Iceland is important to all our common vital objects. Because what we are after here is a global solution. One solution by which, and only by which, all of us can finally enjoy monetary justice. Yesterday, Jack and I had a further discussion in which we discussed further issues, likewise important, not just to Iceland, but to a world which is finally on the precipice of establishing mathematically perfected economy.
The other question that's still on my mind is, let's say if a country, let's say Iceland adopts, MPE, how will it affect the exchange rates between the
Constantly
Icelandic
changing. All other currencies constantly devalue in relation to your currency.
They will, no? Because that's what I figured.
Yeah. So you figure it there's two different ways of going about figuring the devaluation of related currencies. You figure it as you figure the disposition of the currency. That is, how much more of it is dedicated to servicing debt, leaving how much would be dedicated to sustaining your trade, your commerce. And so that over the former value equals the new value. And so the ratio is what you multiply your currency as to indicate the increase in value of your currency in relation to that currency, or the inverse of that ratio is what you use to figure the devaluation of the related currency to your currency. That's what I call, you could call that absolute reckoning of the relative value. But I would use two methods. The other method is the actual pattern of the relative value. So if you might take like a cost of living index or an index of the main things that are traded between your country and other countries. So Iceland's got these natural resources. It's rich in aluminum, and it's shipping aluminum oil ore out, to points far and wide. Well, the currency that the ore is traded in devalues by how much Iceland purchases. So you would use its purchases, what the relative cost of its purchases are in relation to this currency that the trade is being conducted in, and you devalue that currency accordingly, according to the real pattern of spending value, you see. And I would figure it both ways, and for safety, you would apply the worst case scenario. To be conducive to trade, you would apply the best case scenario, that is for your, for the related currency. So that's the basic logic of the whole matter.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Well, I don't know, I guess it all depends on the average interest rates on the other currencies and economic growth and stuff like that, no?
Yeah, exactly. The interest rates determine, and the rate of circulation growth determine, and there's only very little actual circulation growth, converse to what Ron Paul's been claiming. Incidentally, to finish that, then, it's the circulation growth and the rate of interest. That's what determines it. By absolute reckoning, what its relative value ought to be, But you want to protect yourself from damage by the vacillating value as it's actually manifesting, because you could have the markets respond in a more severe or less severe way. You might want to relate to the less severe way. You want to encourage trade by not devaluing their currency more than preclusively. And in the case that you'd be at a loss for the extreme, which is actually manifesting, you want to account for it. So those are the issues there.
One thing will happen is that the exports of Iceland will come under pressure for a certain time, no?
Well, how that'll play out, we don't know, because the bankers will want to punish Iceland.
Uh-huh.
And having their hand in trade, as they do, they might say, well, let's get our aluminum somewhere else. Well, just quit buying from Iceland. We'll punish Iceland, you know. Mm-hmm. And this is something that Iceland has to prepare for, you know. And basically, they're paying such a price that, you know...
But I think they import more than they export. So that would be a good thing, no?
Iceland imports more than they export?
Don't you think?
Well, I don't know what it comes out to. All I know is that I've, you know, in the little research that I've done, is that they're rich in resources, so they're exporting, you know, resources. They're rich in resources like, you know, thermal power, and
but they could almost sustain themselves, no? You know,
well, if they can sustain themselves, and countries like, you know, who are rich in oil can very likely sustain themselves, like Venezuela, certainly could sustain itself by lowering its price for oil exports to generate an incredible incoming revenue stream, which would just enrich the country, allowing them to buy, say they needed cement for construction. It would allow them to, you know, to purchase things from other countries, which would allow them to just perpetually increase their standard of living, you know, through this, because the world is dependent on oil. You know, there's a resource that, you know, you have a lot of leverage now. As I understand it, Iceland is rich in aluminum. So, being as the world is very dependent on aluminum, we're high consumers of aluminum. It may very well be that there's a great leverage there for Iceland, likewise, to continually increase its, you know, standard of living. In effect, by exporting aluminum, you're importing a perpetual stream of currency, which would allow you to, you know, continually increase your standard of living by purchasing what you don't have. Means to convert resources into end production, or directly to purchase end production, whichever the case. Mm-hmm. So having a resource like that allows a country like Iceland to fight this thing. If there's enough demand for it, like if I'm not mistaken, if I recall, Alcoa aluminum was they're heavily vested in importing Icelandic aluminum ore. So, or big, you know, billets or whatever, you know, they might be exporting it in. You know, they might process it there. It depends on costs, how these things are treated. But if Alcoa is depending on it, and there's a sufficient supply, I mean, that could be the difference maker that makes Iceland, quote unquote, self-sufficient. You know, because that can make up for whatever they may not be self-sufficient in. Now, being as where they're located is such a difficult place to grow, crops, I would assume. They would have a very short growing season, but possibly a very prolific one.